Welcome back to another League Talk with Nam. Today we'll be talking about the meta, and do you really need to follow it? Now first off, I'm going to say yes. There's a meta for a reason. As games develop, and you can see this with a lot of new games, new MOBAs that come out, like Heroes or the Infinite Crisis game, where people don't know where to put people and what exactly each champ does, and what's a good duo lane, since there's usually more people on the map than there are lanes, and where to place them. Like another MOBA called Strife, you actually put the duo lane in the middle, which makes a lot of sense, so they can get to all of the buffs easier, so you have more of your team there. But this does cause a problem, of course, of putting a not as strong person in a side lane so they can get abandoned a little bit. So it's just how the meta is working out at the moment. And this went for League of Legends for a very long time. People were going all over the place, especially beta, season 1, even a little bit into season 2. I mean, and still to this day, people are trying new things, trying to put weird people in different lanes, and sometimes it works, usually it doesn't, but sometimes it'll catch on. Like this gameplay, for example, Nautilus was never a support, or never intended to be a support. He was always a jungler and was pretty good at that until his damage got nerfed, and then he either wasn't played or played very sparingly. But then he was moved to the support position, and that worked really well for him because he could trade pretty well with anybody else, and he's just a very strong pick right now. And that actually puts Riot in a little bit of a weird position because they can't just buff his damage again to put him back in the jungle, because then he'll just be way too powerful for the support position. But then they can't also nerf him, then he'll just be useless everywhere. So that's a little bit of a predicament, but that's not the player's fault, that's just his kit's fault and how he was designed. Now, in order to break the meta in this way, and putting weird people as support, or putting junglers top, or putting top laners jungle like Gragas, you have to first know the rules and what the meta currently is. So right now, in this season, it's a very tank-heavy meta. Tank junglers, tank top lanes, and then having 1 or 2 people on the team being the ADC, and the mid laner being just bursty or have crazy amounts of damage. Not like last season where it was just assassins everywhere. So of course you need to know the lanes, who should go top, mid, bot lane, and jungle. And then the positions within those lanes, more specifically who is good supports, and obviously who are ADCs, which marksmen are generally very straightforward. Except for Teemo. He's put his marksman, but don't play him anywhere. But if you are going to, just play him top lane. And then, of course, the team comps, as I said, right now it's a tank meta, but you could also set up the team fight crazy wombo combo stuff, being like Malphite and Orianna, and then Yasuo ulting off of all of that, then everyone just dies instantly. It's just all types of fun. So once you learn the meta, then you can start going off meta by taking weird people in the jungle, you know, trying out Twisted Fate jungle, which works a little bit, or the infamous Gragas jungle, as I mentioned, being really crazy good just because of how his kit works with neutral camps at the moment. And then of course it'll change and you have to find someone else, or just go back to the bread and butter junglers. Right now, Rek'Sai or Vi or J4. What you have to keep in mind is no matter what position you want to go quote-unquote off meta, they have to have some resemblance of the meta champions in that position. For Gragas, he still needed fast clear times, decent ways to get in for ganks, so he worked really well as a jungle because he had all those things in his kit. Or Nautilus, he needs to be tanky, he needs to be able to trade well, he needs to do a little bit of damage, but not overtake the amount of damage your ADC is going to do, and in some way to sustain himself. And that worked out really well for him. And of course, you should always try new things. For a good chunk of time, I would just take a bunch of random people bot lane. Sure, I probably played stuff that wasn't on meta that's meta now, like I played Annie support before that was a thing, and Nautilus support before that was a thing, but I also tried really stupid stuff like Anivia support and Lee Sin support, which I personally like, but no one else did. So it's always fun to experiment, but don't always say, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, if it's just flat out doesn't work. Because sometimes it's just not going to work. Like, you can't put Caitlyn by herself in a lane just because she doesn't have a whole lot of way of disengage, and she's really good at laning, but past that, it's just wouldn't work out for her. Like Quinn top works because of her disengage and how she has range for most top laners, but when they get in on her, she can still trade really well, or she can turn into the bird and trade exceptionally well because she's basically an assassin. But that kit doesn't work out super well for her actual role because you don't want to get that close to anybody in bot lane ever because you have to deal with the support and the ADC. So in cases like her, where you should play her off meta, technically, although she really should just be a top laner instead of being put in as a ADC. Put what you like going off meta in the comments below. As always, hit the like button if you like the video and subscribe to get more Salvo content. I'm Nomsensical, and I'm out.